Queen's death certificate published. Cause of death and how royals raced in vain in her final hours. Queen Elizabeth II's partial death certificate was released by the National Records of Scotland and shows the late monarch's official cause of death. Many curious Britons had their questions answered today, as officials have revealed Queen Elizabeth II's cause of death. After weeks of waiting, people can finally understand both how and when she passed. For months, Britain's longest reigning monarch had suffered from what Buckingham Palace referred to only as mobility problems. Buckingham Palace has released a statement just after 12:30 p.m. that say doctors were concerned about the Queen's health and that she would remain under medical supervision. Her death was officially announced at 6:30 p.m. The palace statement said the Queen had died peacefully, but in line with royal tradition, did not give any cause of death. As we all know, the health issues forced her to withdraw from many of her public engagements. In fact, the detail confirms what was suspected on that tragic day, that most of the Queen's children and grandchildren tried in vain to be with her during the late monarch's last hours. Prince William, Prince Andrew, Prince Edward, and his wife, Sophie, Countess of Wessex, were in the air when the Queen passed. They had been racing to Balmoral, took off from RAF Northolt in South Ruislip, West London, at 2:39 p.m., landing an hour later. Prince Harry was not on the plane with his brother and had to make his own journey to Scotland on a jet from Luton, taking off after his grandmother had already passed. He landed in Aberdeen 16 minutes after the palace made its announcement, and then arrived at Balmoral almost 5 hours after she died. Her son, King Charles III, and daughter, Princess Anne, were at Balmoral as she passed. They had already been in Scotland undertaking public engagements prior to September 8th. The Queen's only daughter, Princess Anne, has released a touching statement detailing her last goodbye to her mother, as it emerged just how quickly the late monarch's health declined in her final hours. The Princess Royal expressed her gratitude for being able to spend time with her mother as her health failed. I was fortunate to share the last 24 hours of my dearest mother's life. It has been an honor and a privilege to accompany her on her final journeys. We will all share unique memories. I offer my thanks to each and everyone who shares our sense of loss. The Queen had been undertaking far less work in recent months, but on Tuesday she nevertheless met both the outgoing Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, and the incoming Prime Minister, Liz Truss, to formally ask her to serve as the United Kingdom's new Prime Minister. Earlier this year, Elizabeth had celebrated her Platinum Jubilee, marking 70 years on the throne. Former UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson said the Queen was bright and focused, but clearly not well 2 days before she died. The sources said the Queen had been in good spirits despite her recent and well-documented mobility issues, but took a sudden turn for the worse during the night of Wednesday to Thursday. Even more heartbreaking, it was claimed that Queen Elizabeth II's cherished corgis were with her to the end. The late monarch took comfort in the company of her pups, Sandy and Buick, as she prepared to say her final goodbyes. The dogs had been given to her as a gift by Prince Andrew, who has now taken over their care, and his daughters, Princess Beatrice and Eugenie. Queen Elizabeth's beloved corgis were with her in the final hours in her room at Balmoral, adding that the pair were there to comfort the Queen. Windsor Castle has reopened to the public as Brits flock to see the Queen's final resting place at St. George's Chapel. The former monarch was buried alongside her husband, Prince Philip, and her mother, father, and sister. Buckingham Palace released a photo of the ledger stone that marks the spot where the family are buried.